no.
and then move to the next person.
Probably somebody, one of their legal counsels told them that they could be sued for facilitating secret recordings. So now, whenever someone presses record, they have to announce to the world, this meeting has been recorded. Leave if you don't want to be recorded.
You have been warned. Rechungpa and Tipupa. Namo Guru. The Jetson Milarepa had ultimately been victorious in defeating the jealous debaters through his power and miraculous ability. However, his heart son Rechungpa was not satisfied with this. He directly with words on the scholars' terms. He thought, these scholars who have no belief in miracles and were not satisfied must be defeated with words, else must be defeated through the use.
Melissa, your your voice is going in and out. Is that just me or?
No.
Oh, it's, I can hear.
Okay,
Yeah.
I moved closer, and I don't know what else I can
That's
do.
better.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
Close, yes.
Can I start from the beginning again? I'll try not to put my head down. Namo Guru. The Jetson Milarepa had ultimately been victorious in defeating the jealous debaters through his power and miraculous ability. However, his heart son was not as the Jetson did not win by replying directly with words on the scholar's terms. He thought these scholars who have no belief in miracles and were not satisfied must be defeated by countering them with words, or else they must be defeated through the use of fear. Although I received teachings from the Jetson on such magic, it was probably just mere words. Scholars said these miracles were mere tricks is something that needs to be rectified. But the Jetson will not do it. Bringing one to Buddhahood now in a single lifetime. The instructions of the Guru are indeed profound. But to defeat the scholars, I will need to go to India and train in logic. Jim?
Rechungpa conveyed his wishes in the presence of the Jetson. The Jetson said, Rechungpa, if we had lost the debate, how could the scholars have given their respect? If you go to India to study logic in order to defend yourself in debate, you will only be going for the sake of this mundane world. If you forsake genuine practice and train in terminology, although you might learn something, it is far from certain that you would win every debate, nor will you ever have mastery over all words in logic. To know how to respond to all questions and debates, you must attain Buddhahood, and to attain Buddhahood, you must meditate. Thus, relinquish this life and remain and practice the meditation of recognizing your own true nature. Even if you have the power to kill others through black magic, without the power to guide them, you just bring ruin to both yourself and others. Furthermore, because of the black magic that I performed, I had to undergo many hardships in the presence of Marpa. Therefore, you should remain and focus on contemplating the shortness of life and uncertainty of time of death. Rechungpa insistently made his plea to go to India. The Jetson said,
So
yes.
let me
Sure.
ask you to pause here. So Milarepa's response to Rechungpa here, I think in the bigger picture, what we're witnessing here is in some ways a three direction tension within that context of like what is really like what is spiritual practice, what is religious practice, what is dharma. So you can kind of see three positions there. One emphasizes learning, debate, and logic. One emphasizing meditating, isolating yourself, going into the mountains. And the third is the display of miraculous powers, here called black magic. I don't know what the Tibetan was. But here I think the word black magic here is probably, in English, it's too explicitly and obviously like, oh, that's not good. I believe the Tibetan is less obvious that, hey, don't do black magic. It's more like the use of supernatural powers to, for whatever purpose. But bottom line, to use supernatural powers. So these are the three, I think, areas that to this day is not exactly settled. There's always these three parts that somehow people expect. Like either, you are really good with scholarship. And scholarship, unlike in the US where people insult you and they call you a scholar, in Tibetan society, until now, it's a term of respect when somebody says, "Oh, he's a scholar." By and large, it's saying, yeah, that guy is good. He's learned. And the way that, like in the Jewish community, to call someone learned, it's not an insult. It's really admiration is there. But here clearly, Milarepa is saying, no, actually, with regards to Buddhahood, with regards to becoming a Buddha for the benefit of all beings, mainly it's to stay in the mountains. Mainly it's to meditate, to cultivate these skillful states of mind and abandon that which is unskillful. The other two things, yeah, you could go do that, but they're not the main thing. That's his position. So like today, all the prominent lamas that we know, they're all kind of invested in or responsible for the setting up and the running of schools, of seats of learning. Then they might also have retreat centers where they send people to. The black magic part or the miraculous part is more when people have problems. They also want a lama that can solve problems that they cannot solve. And that's where the magic comes in.
Dr. Lye?
Yes.
So would black magic here not mean in the sense that we think of it as
Well,
black and white magic, just magic?
No, that's what I just said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Not black.
it's not so clearly, I think, the Tibetan. It just means using supernatural powers to manipulate things. Yeah. Yeah, so anyway, Jim, go ahead.
Rechungpa insistently made his plea to go to India. The Jetson said, if you insist on not listening and go to India, I will not send you there in order to study logic. I will not send you there in order to study logic. When I came into the presence of Marpa from Lodrank, he gave only 4 parts among the whispered lineage's 9 Dharma cycles of the formless Dakinis. Thus, there are still 5 that remain in India. There is a prophecy that if a son of my lineage goes and receives them from the lineage of Naropa, he will bring them back and benefit sentient beings. Though this is so, because I previously could not forsake my meditation practice, I did not go to receive them myself. I am now old and have gained full confidence of mind, so I will not go. Now, you go and bring them back. You go to India. You will need gold, he said. Cheryl?
Milarepa and Rechungpa collected together the gold that had been offered to them, which came to a large sum. Then, as a departing drink for Rechungpa, all of the students, including Shendormo and Lechungpa, held a Gana Chakra. With the assembly now where it was arranged, the Jetson presented all the gold to Rechungpa. He said, "Son Rechungpa, contemplate the meaning of this song. Go and receive these Dharma teachings from India." Then he sang this song of realization.
So here, to go to India, you will need gold. You will need gold not only for travel expenses, you will need gold because to receive these dharmas, you have to exchange the dharma with gold. So it's quite clear Marpa worked very hard himself to collect gold and to go down to the lowlands, so to say, in order to receive the dharma. We in the West especially, I think, have this weird, or rather weird or not weird, the fact is we have a uncomfortable relationship with the notion of money and spirituality. Here, there is no sense of that discomfort. Yeah, it's just stated as a matter of fact. You need gold, otherwise, don't even dream of them giving you anything. Nowhere really in this whole book, do you get a sense that somebody might, raise a hand and say, why do they need this? So this tells us, I think, more, that there is a discomfort on our end. Tells us more, I think, about what our thoughts, what we think, this is about, and why we are so weird about it. Whereas, and the thing is that we're so weird about it because, I think, it's because we don't want to be reminded that, in fact, this is how we actually operate. That we consider someone's worth, we tie it with how much wealth that you so it's almost like it's beside the point that when this person get this money, they can click as much as they want on Amazon. That's even beside the point. The point is like how much you give or don't give to this person takes it as, this is how much you say I'm worth, So we hide this, whereas over here, no hiding. So in a way, you could say no hypocrisy. Just out there, get over it. Then obviously, you know, whether it was then in 11th century in the mountains of Tibet or lowlands of India and Nepal, obviously, yes, there are charlatans. Yes, you know, there are people making money out of trading for Dharma. No question about that. Just as there's no question that people are doing it here. But different from now, I think, in this scenario is there's no need to kind of hide around. So at the very least, you could say no hypocrisy, you know, just it's out there. So it's like, if you can get the Dharma from someone like Naropa, yeah, he's a legit teacher. So no problem giving gold to him. You should give gold to him. He's legit, you know. Whereas here we are like, well, if he's really legit, he would not be interested in my gold.
I've seen that comments, and when there's classes online, teachers, it costs some money for the series of teachings, and people say, hey, this is bullshit, man. You should be giving it free.
Yes.
And it's like, no.
And it's in part also, right, it's the platform itself that the internet is free. Yeah, so we have another layer of being brainwashed. But again, it's hypocrisy. No, it's not free. They figured out how to make money out of you. You know, YouTube figured that out. Facebook figured that out. It has a semblance of being free. But the Dharma Center doesn't have the ability to figure out how to get your money and make you feel like it's free. And meanwhile, the Dharma Center has to pay bills the way you have to pay bills. So we, you know, again, we're hiding behind. And then, of course, in this case, you know, Dharma centers can't really hide. It's Amazon that can hide, Google that can hide, Facebook that can hide, you know. And then, so we're brainwashed, you know, into thinking. And we've been kind of, yeah, in this case, it is brainwashed because actually it's not the reality, you know. Like Amazon, there is free shipping. No, you subscribed to Prime. You know, it's not free shipping. You know, we get this a lot, you know, at Tibetan Spirit. If people are like, you know, your shipping is so high. I say, you want to see how much I pay to ship this? I'm not making money on the shipping. You know, it's because companies like Amazon can negotiate very good shipping prices from USPS, from UPS. And so USPS and UPS, where do they go dig their money from? The little guys. Okay, I'm getting carried away. But you know, it's the subtle ways in which it's all hidden. And then we walk around pretending, you know, oh, we should not think about money. When in fact, it's worse. It's always occupying us, you know. To the point that then we judge the legitimacy of teachings, practices, and teachers merely by, are they asking me for money or not? And that seems to be like the be all and end all, you know.
Speak about the motivation here too, because this is him going to get these teachings for the sake of the whole community, presumably. Not just for himself. He's not saying,
yes,
turn yourself into an expert in this thing and then you'll be rich. He's saying,
well, no, actually there's a sense of that too. When you come back with the goods, then you can. So Marpa famously, people say, you know, if you read in the biography, Marpa famously charges a lot for his teachings.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people complain, you know. So when Milarepa wants to go get teachings, people are like, ha, good luck, you know. He's not known for giving things for free.
Right. Well, I was thinking of like how people in the West, especially because a lot of us are comfortably middle class at least, and we think we're going to get these great teachings and practices, and then what? We will never die, or we won't succumb to cancer, or
Uh-huh.
we'll have this, like, it's like this kind of that third
Yes.
level of black magic that you're
Yes.
talking about, that will be whatever, all the way to like people who, like the Rechungpa's regent, who thought he couldn't give AIDS to anybody because he was
Yes.
guy, he had all this stuff.
Right.
It's like that too, that there's some, I'm just looking for a difference there too,
Yes.
in terms of the teacher saying, go get this stuff because it will be good for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Just you.
Mm-hmm. And in this case, of course, basically teacher is saying, don't go.
Yeah, that's right, don't go.
Don't go, And he insists, you say, okay, if you really, because that's part of actually, so a little bit of the background is Milarepa and Rechungpa's relationship is really interesting. This is like a lifelong disciple. Unlike Gampopa, who we now recognize as like, the chief inheritor, right? Because of the way, like I said, lineage is always constructed backwards, So we construct backwards, so Gampopa becomes important. But otherwise, Rechungpa is the lifelong disciple. And for any lifelong disciple, any lifelong relationship, it's rocky. Yeah, even these two great beings, So Rechungpa is always, kind of trying to outsmart the teacher, even though fundamentally, he accepts Milarepa as his teacher, no question. But he's not, at all the one who would just say, yes, yes, teacher, yes, teacher, yes, teacher. So he wants to go, And so part of going is also gaining legitimacy. Yeah? Which is sort of saying, I need to learn Tibetan, which is actually good. But often part of that is also related to legitimacy. Or even, I want to do a 3-year retreat. That is legitimacy. Without naming names, but one of the most active kind of 3-year retreat centers in the West. I mean, routinely, they will tell people who want to leave or whatever and say, no, just finish it, because after that, you can be a Lama.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And there are people who basically stay 3 years in there doing nothing, not doing the practices, not finishing anything. They say, it's okay, just stay there. Don't come out. Yeah, because you want to maintain, like colleges and university, graduation rates matter because they get grants from sponsors who support. So all kinds of things like that. So Rechungpa wants legitimacy, right? Because the word around is his teacher doesn't really know the real stuff. Sort of like he doesn't even know Sanskrit. What does he know? The real stuff is in Sanskrit. Right? So part of like Rechungpa not being happy that Milarepa cannot use words to defeat the scholars is, there are probably people saying, you're just doing Jedi mind tricks, like lots of people do those things. Yeah, so then he wants to go, So you can almost imagine Rechungpa going, doesn't matter, Guru, I just go walk one round and come back. I've already gained some standing, And then people will take us more seriously. So that seems to be what he's up to. Then Milarepa, using that opportunity, says, okay, if you insist on going, okay, stop this silliness about studying logic. Probably like in between, right? You got to fill in the blanks. Milarepa is saying, You don't even know Indian languages right now. How long will it take for you before you master logic? But rather go bring back the other 5 parts, right? Or 4 parts of this complete cycle that has not come yet. So then he sends him to go get that. So later, when Rechungpa comes back, oh man, now he's so legit that he's even going around kind of insinuating he knows more than his teacher now. You'll see that. Then Milarepa will have to put him in his place. Yeah.
That's right. With the yak one.
Okay, so anyway, continue from there.
I'll read a couple of verses and then pass it over. I bow at the feet of Marpa the translator. Grant your blessings that I carry on your example. My son with little hearing has lost the debate. So doubts arise and he's giving up his practice. He wants to study, so he'll wander to distant lands. Such is the treacherous path of the doubtful yogi.
Yeah, so right there, Milarepa is saying, because he feels that he has not like systematically studied the Dharma, so he cannot debate. And since debate is like the standard of legitimacy, so then even though I have given him instructions, now doubts have arisen in his mind. And he's not content to meditate and to cultivate those skillful mind states that I have given him. So now he wants to study. Which of course, yes, there is a place for studying, but it's like he has already gone to the next step. Now he wants to backtrack. So he says, this is treacherous, the path. There are so many ways you can kind of get distracted. Yeah, but it is Rechungpa's process too, right? To be fair to Rechungpa, once the doubt has arisen, then all the guru can do is try not to give up on the student, and say, okay, no matter how much I try to convince you, it's not going to work. So now you go, then you have to walk this yourself now. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I just think it's interesting too that it's not a cookie cutter path. It's like.
No. Yes. Right.
So Joyce, would you read now?
Yeah.
Sure. If you go to the land of India, receive the Dharma cycles of the formless dakinis from the lineage of the great Pandit Naropa. Do not lend yourself to strands of debating terms. In the beginning, my place of encounter was unmistaken. I encountered and served Marpalotsawa. In the middle, my place of meditation was unmistaken. I meditated at the White Rock Horse Tooth Peak. In the end, my place of alms gathering was unmistaken. With no guide or friends, I've gathered alms throughout the land. Now I'm free of rejecting samsara and adopting nirvana. Thus, for this yogi, there is no turning back.
Yeah, so here, Milarepa is contrasting his own kind of experience against Rechungpa's situation. Milarepa had the great fortune. In some ways, the great fortune came from the calamity that he created. Those terrible actions, right? And then it really hit him in a way like he really was down to the rock bottom, and then from that point on, it helped him to stay focused. Yeah? So he was confident that Marpa was unmistaken. To be a student of Marpa was no mistake at all. Then once instructions he got from Marpa, No mistake at all. He remained in this place and worked on it. Then this gathering of alms means from his training, from his practice, he has already reached certainty. So now he doesn't worry about anymore. Do I have connections? Do I not have connections? No. Whatever I need to stay alive, it will come. Maybe not directly, maybe not so easily, but basically whatever I need to stay alive, those things will come. So then those two lines. Now I'm free of rejecting samsara and adopting nirvana. Yeah, so at the beginning of the path, it's making wise choices in terms of what to accept and what to reject. That is really important, no question. But there will be a point in our development where, if at first it seemed like, it's the need to really learn very clearly, what to accept, what to reject. So like in my Shantideva class, we're talking about the importance of knowing. It says if you don't know what to accept and what to reject, then what are you practicing? What are you cultivating? And what are you abandoning? So first, you have to reject samsara and accept nirvana, so to say. But there will be a certain point where it's no longer, you don't need to walk around going, oh, what am I accepting, what I'm rejecting? It's become second nature. And then finally, it comes to a level where, beyond the fact of, you automatically, by first nature now, virtue, you engage in non-virtue, you naturally don't engage in. On top of that, there's also the wisdom, the realization that sees that in fact even this ultimate pair of samsara and nirvana, they are projections of the mind. And so once the mind is purified, pacified, then even this notion of accepting and rejecting becomes unnecessary. So here instead, in contrast, he says, there is no turning back. Whereas, right, Rechungpa will be wandering. And part of wandering is, turn here, turn there, turn here, turn there. Which was when I was in New York for 2 weeks, About a week and a half was basically like Rechungpa wandering around the subway system. For the life of me, I cannot wrap my head around uptown and downtown. So I got to see many stations. Not all who wander are lost, but definitely I was lost. Yeah, please go ahead.
When I had left the presence of Marpa from Lodrok and was staying within the rugged mountains, the Buddha Guru said this to me: the Chakravartin king, holder of the jewel, the birds of 5 families fly in Dharmata's expanse. First is awareness, the torch of wisdom. Second is the nadis, pranas, and the lattice of chakras. Third is great bliss, the precious jewel of speech. Fourth is equal taste, the mirror of outer phenomena. Fifth is self-liberation, the Mahamudra. In India, all of these 5 dharmas still remain and should be secured. But now I'm old and cannot go. You, son, a holder of Marpa's lineage, secure this from the land of India.
Yeah, so these are titles of the 5 further topics. So apparently of the 9 dharmas, Marpa was able to get 4 out of the 9. And then there's 5 more that Marpa did not receive in his 3 trips to India. So these are the names. The first 2 lines, the Chakravartin, king, holder of the jewel, the birds of the 5 families fly in Dharmata's expanse. Basically, translator doesn't know what it is. Translator probably asked people, and people don't know what it is. So at least the translator provided the Tibetan for other people to go follow up and see what the heck does this 2 line means. I looked also, like 119, what is that? All it's given there is the actual Tibetan phoneticized and said, we have no idea what that means.
That's fun.
Yeah, so anyway, go on.
Laura, you want to take over?
Sure. But okay, thus he sang. Happily, Rechungpa picked up a select offering of gold, tossed it toward the Jetson's body, and then offered this song. At the risk of my life, may I accomplish the intention and meaning of the Guru's command. May I receive, in accord with the prophecy, the warm breath of the Dakinis, this instructions. By the compassion of the One with wisdom and love, I pray you accept me to be inseparable from you. Bless me to remember and never forget the Vajra garlands of your commanding words. Rechungpa, who is guideless and without any friend, please protect him in whatever he encounters on the fearsome and treacherous paths of India. Wherever I travel, please look upon me. When wandering in this human land without a guide, may I meet one with whom I have good karmic connection. May appearances that are obstacles on this path be transformed and dawn as precious jewels.
Yeah, so here, this section pretty straightforward, He's saying goodbye and asking Milarepa to, bless him and not to forsake him.
Is that reasonable for him to toss gold at him?
That just simply means he made an offering. He took, he took his provisions of gold and gave some to Milarepa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want me to continue? Then the Jetsons sang the song of realization to Rechungpa. To my son Rechungpa, who is going to India, I'll give some counsel in 7 sets of 3. First is the great path of secret mantra. Second are the Guru's great key instructions. Third is your own great prana. May you have these 3 things of greatness. First, you need to give service to the learned ones. Second, you need to have faith in the Guru. Third, you need to have perseverance for yourself. May you have these 3 necessities. First, make prana control penetrate the vital point. Second, penetrate into the expanse of Dharmata. Third, penetrate the mastery of Dharma. May you have these 3 things of penetrating. First is to see the humanity of bliss. Second is to see the myriad appearances. Third is to see the scriptures, logic, and Upadeshas. I don't know if I pronounced that right. May you have these 3 things to be seen. Cherish as a companion the qualified mudra. Cherish the mind of the experience of bliss. Cherish the conduct that is elephant-like. May you have these 3 things to be cherished. To propagate instructions to bad vessels is a regrettable loss. To sing of your experience in songs is a regrettable loss. For the yogi to wander in the cities is a regrettable loss. May you consider these 3 regrettable losses. Can you explain what he means by to sing of your experience in songs is regrettable loss. What does it mean by that?
Keep going, keep going. There's
Okay.
lots of explanations to do.
Okay, I'm really interested in that one. First, Dharma friends gather in assemblies. Second, dakinis gather in assemblies. Third, daily provisions gather in assemblies. May you have these three things that gather. Contemplate this song's meaning and put it into practice.
Yeah, so here Milarepa gives Rechungpa kind of to help him remember all these things. He puts all these kind of essential advice into threes. So he says 7 sets of 3. So the first set of 3 is there is the great path of secret mantra, which is there is the Vajrayana path. Then with regards to the Vajrayana path, you need, so first you need to have access. You need to be exposed to, you need to have been introduced to, and the great path of Vajrayana. Then within that, you need the key instructions. And so you cannot just kind of learn Vajrayana from books and also from, like anybody and everybody. You need a guide that will give you the key. These instructions is the key that will unlock these teachings. Then also your own discriminative faculty, here called prajna, which is usually translated as primordial wisdom. But it's saying basically Guru's instructions, your own intelligence, these two need to be applied onto this body of knowledge called the secret mantra. So when you have these 3, so these are called the 3 great things. The great path of secret mantra, the great key instructions, and your own great intelligence. So you need to have all 3. Second set, you need to give service to the learned ones. So that is discipleship. With regards to the learned ones, it's not enough to just say, hey, I'm here, teach me. Because you cannot learn that way. You have to serve them. You have to serve them. And there's no exactly you do this or you do that, but the idea is that you become a disciple. So the learned ones is like a more general category of anyone who is more learned than us, in this case in the topic of Dharma, we need to kind of serve them for the purpose of being able to learn from them through serving them. Then more specifically, with regards to the Guru, which is here, among the learned ones, not every learned one who teaches you becomes Guru in this sense. Guru here is talking about a more serious connection and relationship. So with regards to those persons, then you need to have confidence in them. So one time I said, I was helping in a retreat where the teacher, who is Tibetan, said something. Then I wasn't careful with the use of my words, so I said something like, basically it's saying you cannot question the Guru. And then the teacher knew enough English where he stopped and he said, no, it's not you cannot question the Guru. He says, so he's making an important distinction. He says, you cannot doubt the Guru. But you have to question the guru, he says. Then he elaborated, he says, you cannot doubt, as in, you cannot doubt their motivation. But you can question. Why do you want me to do this? What is the reason I should practice that? But you cannot doubt, as in, it's like, is he just like, jerking me around? Is he just like having a bad day and, said this to me? That's the doubt. That means you're doubting their motivation when they're giving you instructions on Dharma. Is it just, trying to get my money? Now, even here, right, when we say you cannot doubt, it's important to not think that this is saying, thou shalt not doubt. Yeah. What it really means is like, if you find yourself doubting this person, then this person is probably not guru material for you. Or you are not disciple material for this person. Right? Because as a matter of fact, if you doubt their motivation, they cannot help you. You cannot be helped by them. It doesn't matter. It's like whether this person is qualified to be teacher or not is secondary to the more central question of, do you have confidence that this person has your best interest in mind? If you do not have that confidence, it could be Buddha Shakyamuni, that we're talking about, and yet it's not very helpful. It's not going to work. So here, you need to have faith in the guru. It means, you need to be confident. You need to build up confidence over time. And again, it's not like you arrive day one, you have this confidence, you have this faith, but you have to work on developing this trust that this person has your best interest in mind. Third, you need to have perseverance for yourself. So that's an important point as well. So now that your guru is not going to give up on you, are you going to give up on yourself? If you're going to give up on yourself, no matter how much the guru try to do, in the end, it's still not going to work. So often, we freak out because we don't have enough confidence in ourselves. Then that also complicates how we relate to the guru. One extreme, we become doormat. Not going to work. Another extreme, because of our lack of confidence in ourselves, we try to criticize the guru. Also not going to work. So these are the three necessities. The necessity to give service to the learned ones, the necessity to have faith in the guru, and the necessity to not give up on yourself, to persevere. Then the three ways of penetrating. Letting the practice of prana control, which is these winds. This is the inner yogas. Let them penetrate, to hit the vital points according to the instructions. Then to hit into the expanse of dharmata. Dharmata here means phenomena, the reality of phenomena. And dharma is phenomena. Ta is like ness. So the essence of phenomena. Hit that point, which is talking about realizing the emptiness of all phenomena. Then hit the mastering of Dharma. So to hit, to penetrate these three. First, then the next, the fourth set of threes, the three things to be seen. See the luminosity of bliss. So experience the bliss that arises from this radiant mind, this luminosity. Next, see the myriad appearances. So the luminosity of bliss, right? This bliss that arises from this radiant mind, specifically is about emptiness. The mind, when it is radiant completely, it is not stuck. Yeah, it neither fixate on itself nor fixate on others. Why? Through realization of emptiness. Then also see the myriad appearances. That's talking about seeing the interdependence of cause and effect, karma arising in all its variety, to be able to see all of that clearly. Then the third is to see the scriptures, logic, and upadesha. Upadesha is pith instructions. So these are different categories of formal instruction. Scriptures is about learning, logic is about reasoning, and upadeshas is about experiencing. So this is also then, another way of putting in my understanding, another way of putting the three types of wisdom that arise from studying or listening, from contemplating or reflecting, and then from putting into practice, or what we often translate as meditating. So with regards to the scriptures, learn extensively, study them. The logic, although in the monastic education, logic is a formal subject to be studied based on Indian logic system, right? But here Milarepa is talking about a broader category of logic, which is understand the reasonings, understand the principles that are taught in these scriptures. So you have to see these three. Then cherish. What should you cherish? Cherish as companion the qualified mudra. So here there is the outer mudra and the inner mudra. Mudra here is interchangeable with dakinis. Or also the viras, or sometimes often translated as dakas. The inner daka or dakini is wisdom. But in Vajrayana methods, certain Vajrayana methods, they do involve human partners. So especially for Rechungpa and Milarepa, we know from history that they do have human partners, usually male-female paired together. So here qualified means, you can't simply go, see a woman, Rechungpa, and go, oh, can you practice together with me? It has to be that this is in fact a practitioner, in fact has reached the level that they are now qualified to help you work on the inner yogas, the movement of energy. So for those who are actually doing that kind of practice, then it's really crucial that they actually have someone that is qualified. Yeah. And then for those who are not literally doing those practices, then they're talking about, because there's another way of also working with the movement of energy and all that, which is using a visualized experience. So both ways. But for Milarepa and Rechungpa's context, they're talking about an actual human partner. Yeah? Then cherish the mind of the experience of bliss. So it's the idea is that in relating to such a mudra, the experience of bliss can arise, but this is not the ordinary bliss of the joining of the sexual organs. If they're very explicit, they will actually say that you'll come across. It says it's not that. But this bliss that takes you beyond that. Cherish that. And then cherish the conduct that is elephant-like. So the footnote here says, fearless and unrelenting. That makes efforts to benefit beings. May you have these three things to be cherished. Value them. Cherish them. So now, up until now, these first 5 sets, they are all things to have. And this one, the 6th set is, it's regrettable, if you do these 3 things. To propagate instructions to bad vessels, meaning you teach the wrong people. Teaching the wrong people. So for students, meeting the wrong teacher is regrettable. Then for teachers, getting the wrong students is just as regrettable. Because everyone's time is wasted. So some teachers will think, oh, it's great to have lots and lots of students, But actually, if they're serious about it, you'll say, pray to the Dharma protectors. Just send me those, that are proper vessels. To sing of your experience in songs is a regrettable loss. Which is, these are not to be broadcasted, your practice. And especially for Rechungpa to watch Milarepa singing, he thinks, oh, maybe I should do the same. Milarepa said, no, you don't, If you need to check in and see this experience, this understanding true or not, yes, you check with me, but you don't go sing this, so to say. It will create obstacles. For the yogi who wander in cities is a regrettable loss. So in this tradition especially, meaning Milarepa's community, it's like avoid the crowds like a plague. And this is, 11th century Tibetan crowd. Imagine Milarepa these days, if he came time, May you consider these 3 regrettable losses. Finally, first, Dharma friends gather in assemblies. Second, dakinis gather in assemblies. Third, daily provisions gather in assemblies. May you have these 3 things that gather. Dharma friends are quite obviously, you can recognize, you go there, Dharma friends. Dakinis are, again, opportunities that gather that you may or may not immediately recognize to be sources of wisdom, in a way. Yeah. And then daily provisions, whatever you need to to live on. May those provisions gather. May you have these three things that gather. Right? Contemplate the song's meaning and put into practice. Yeah. So questions or comments?
I've got a comment.
Uh-huh.
Because I think I'm guilty of singing
Uh-huh.
your experience. I mean, like when we get to talking about, like when mainly when you're not here, but when we're in groups, I feel like I kind of share my experience. And am I not supposed to do that?
No, that's different. That's different. This is
Okay.
talking about like, like more in the sense of like, impress people, try to
Okay.
like,
Gotcha.
gather a following,
Okay. Gotcha.
This is more talking about people who, create websites and then say, like, the typical thing is like they will say, practice over 1,000 hours of meditation. Teachers include the Dalai Lama. Whenever they say things like that, they don't have teachers, okay?
Okay.
Anyone who lists the Dalai Lama as one of their teachers, you know they don't have teachers. In my experience, It means, in the good old days, you were in a crowd of 50,000 people.
Yeah.
And these days, it means, you have internet,
Yeah. Right.
So you have these people who, give themselves, these like, and then now they have opened up shop, to be, meditation teachers and this and that, and it's like, oh.
Okay, good.
Yeah, even people, who finish 3-year retreat, it's like a big deal, especially when you know how many of these 3-year retreats are done, It's actually kind of like, oh. So that's what it's talking about here. Yeah.
I have a question about the next line.
Uh-huh.
In terms of just kind of how to think about this in our lives now.
Uh-huh. So what do you think?
To be careful who I'm influenced by, maybe.
Which line? Wait, hold on.
Oh, for the yogi to wander in cities is a regrettable loss.
Uh-huh. Oh, uh-huh. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it simply says, it means, all the distractions that can come. Yeah, I think it's very different, Like when I read this, I simply say, therefore I'm not a yogi. Really, that's how I read that. I say, well, therefore I'm not in the same circumstance as them. So instead of maybe try to tame it and say, oh, it means this or it means that, for me, I'm just saying totally just for me, I'm just saying, reminding myself, long way to go before I can do what they are able to do,
Okay. Okay, great.
That there are many examples of how going into the solitude of the mountains or the forest is very useful, very important, but that's not what I can do right now. So then So then you're like, so then that's it? No, it's also like, well, whatever pulling back I can do, it's always good. You know, it's always good. To whatever degree I can pull back from, it's good. Maybe not good for the economy, maybe not good for your neighborhood, but if we pull back in order to really look at the layers and layers and layers of self-grasping, and actually being able to loosen up self-grasping, then it's good. But at the same time, you know, you have to remember context, okay? Context is 10th century Tibet or today Tibet. Maybe today Tibet a little has changed, but I always said that you have to remember the context is they are describing a cultural context where it is next to impossible to extricate yourself from the social, familial ties. You know? There are no strangers in these cities that they're talking about. You get roped into everything. Everyone's business is everyone else's business. So in a way, I would say, my walking around in New York City, I'm in complete solitude. As opposed to being in Asheville. So one time, way back, I was asking for help from this old monk, Tibetan monk, about doing a period of retreat. Then he said, there are two ways to be isolated, because this term of isolating body, speech, and mind is the idea about retreat and not being seen by others, you know. So there are some very literal, like you cannot be seen by others. So I said to him, so I cannot be seen by others, and so do I, you know, make sure that if I walk outside of the retreat, you know, for the space, it's when people are not going to be out there. And he said, yes, that is one way, but he says there's a second way. I said, what's the second way? He says, don't let anyone know you're doing retreat. Then he says, because of your circumstance, you have to go out and buy food. You don't have people bringing support. And he says, as long as other people don't know you're doing retreat, in that sense, they are not seeing a retreatant. So I said, I see. So this wandering in the cities is also about, you know, that how in that society, completely, you know, once you get involved, you get sucked into everything. You know, here, you know, even you want to get involved, people have no time for you. Here, you know, life is potentially very lonely. There's no time to be lonely. Everyone is in your hair, you know.
Trying to imagine doing a retreat at your old hometown or your old house with everybody around you and the
it's hard, yes.
history and connections and stuff like that.
Exactly. All the ties are so obvious there. All the demands are so present there, you know.
And that sort of the claustrophobia of going back home for the holidays is kind of maddening, where like your attachments are there. You want to see everybody, but wow. His connection.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would say like a big city would be a pretty good place in some sense.
Yes, yeah. The anonymity of being in cities. And of course, I mean, assuming that you are not going, ooh, like,
Right.
yeah, I want to go to all the museums. I want to go to da 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 da. Then, of course, those are distractions, Thus he sang. Rechungpa prostrated to the Guru and then set out for India. Accompanying him were 15 monks along with a Dzogchenpa named Kiton as their leader. In Nepal, Rechungpa and Kiton were able to engage in a little bit of Dharma activity, and along the way they met a disciple of Tipupa named Bharima. So this Kiton is Ralotsawa, is identified as one of the important figures of the transmission of Buddhism during that period. Ralotsawa. So then they asked the king of Kokum for a permit to travel. So at a certain part of their journey, they have to pass through this area where they needed basically a permission to pass through. He said, "You are the heart son of the Siddha who previously wouldn't accept my invitation." And according to his wish, Rechungpa received the permit and travel provision. And so this king, reminded them that, and here it's not clear to me, whether it's talking about Milarepa or it's talking about Marpa. Either of them could be true. So heart son doesn't need to literally mean, son. It could be grandson, great grandson, So this local king recognized them for who they are. Anyway, when he arrived in India, Rechungpa met Tipupa and received all of the Dharma teachings that he had desired. Tipupa also developed faith in the Jitsun, in Milarepa, and entrusted Rechungpa with the gift of an aga wood staff, a walking staff made out of this very special wood called aga wood. Aga wood is this wood that grows in Southeast Asia. Basically, it's a particular type of tree, and the tree is attacked by a type of fungus, and then the tree dies, and the hardwood of the tree begin to form this resinous tree, and the quality of the scent when you burn is that it's warming. So it's often used as
Yeah, you gave us some.
this might be the South American Palo Santo.
I know you brought us some wood. Is that the wood?
That's the Palo Santo. That's from South America. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. That's Palo Santo. But aga wood I also have actually back here. Aga wood is way more expensive than Palo Santo, although Palo Santo these days also becoming more expensive. But aga wood is what they use in French perfume as the base tones. Like one of the most fancy base tone is to use aga wood. And the other reason it's very expensive is like in the Middle East, that is the scent of choice. So between French perfume and Middle East burning this, rich, wealthy Middle Easterners would have these wedding parties or, whatever parties, and there'll be like big urns of aga wood being burned to kind of flaunt their wealth. But in Tibetan medicine and Ayurvedic medicine, this is used for treating especially wind disturbances. So this basically he gave Rechungpa a very like prize gift even in the 10th century. So an aga wood staff. Rechungpa also met Machik Drupek Gyalmo and received the key instructions on Amita use and trained in black mantra with the Tirthakas. So Rechungpa went and learned what's called here black mantra from Tirthakas, meaning non-Buddhist. So he still felt the need of, I also want to know how to do these things.
Yeah.
Yeah. When he arrived in Nepal, Tipupa's disciple Barima clarified the faults of Dharma of the jealous Lotsawa and so forth. So Tipupa's disciple, reminded him of all these competing factions as Dharma is coming into Tibet. That's the reality too, the faults of those things. These stories of Rechungpa's journey to India and Nepal can be found in detail in his biography. So a few of these names here, yeah. So Tipupa has an interesting kind of backstory to this. Tipu so this is not a this is not an Indian name. This is a Tibetan name. Tipupa means the pigeon guy. Yeah, who is this pigeon guy? It's actually Marpa's son.
Wow.
Marpa's son supposedly was taken out, like murdered, by a competing Dharma figure
Oh my.
during the time of Marpa.
Wow.
Some kind of jealousy or who knows what's going on, although later traditions try to smooth it out, yeah, and say, well, it's all part of a big plan. Okay? I mean, Tibetans have to wrestle with like their weird histories, like because the guy who took him out is the main transmitter of the Yamantaka teachings, which is the wrathful Manjushri, the bull-headed wrathful deity. And that's the main practice these days of the Gelugpas, Dalai Lama's lineage. So that figure, during Marpa's time, his name was Ra, not Ra, but Ra, R-W-A, Ra Lotsawa. And Ra Lotsawa apparently was responsible for Marpa's son's death. And it even said that he got rid of 13 bodhisattvas. In his own biography, it's not like written to insult him, but his biographer proudly wrote that he got rid of 13 bodhisattvas. One of them was Marpa's son.
Now, were those bad vessels?
Yeah, I don't know, Anyway, so the story goes that Marpa's son, the only son who was supposed to be Marpa's successor, died before Marpa. And then at that point, Marpa had the method of a type of powa. Now the powa that we do is just to go to the Pure Land. But Marpa had the ability to powa the son's consciousness into a pigeon. And then told the pigeon/son, you fly in this direction, go south. Until you arrive at a certain place, at a certain blah, 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 somewhere in Nepal, India, there is a fresh corpse. And you then, at that point, do the following to transfer your consciousness into that body, and you live there. And after that, once you have basically, like reanimated this dead body, right? Then you go seek out this next person, Machik Drupegyamo, which is this woman. There's a woman Mahasiddha. Indian name is Siddha Rajni. Rajni means Rajni is like female, like queen. Raja is king. Rajni is queen. Queen of Siddhas. Because the queen of Siddhas, one of her forte is the practice of longevity of Amitayu. Yeah, so Tipupa is basically Marpa's son, without going through rebirth, gain a new body, which is the body of a beggar that died in somewhere in India. So via the pigeon, this consciousness, traveled down to India. Then for Tipupa to avoid, now as an Indian beggar, Marpa's son, to avoid another short life, he was directed by his father to go receive the transmission from Machit Drupegyamo, which then somehow Marpa's grand disciple Rechungpa is going to come down and meet Tipupa, and also meet Tipupa's teacher and receive this Amitayu long life practice, which Rechungpa brings back to Tibet. So now that's why Ralotsawa got rid of Marpa's son. It looked like it was an unfriendly getting rid of. In fact, it's part of this whole interdependence of bringing this lineage of Amitayus back to Tibet. So they say. Let's see who comes up with what story about what happened with Trump. 4 years of presidency in America.
Like the QAnon plan. Yeah.
Plandemic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
So anyway, so that's what's going on here, So this lineage of Amitayu practice is still the main lineage practiced by Kagyupas, Sakyapas, Gelugpas, Nyingmas. It all came from Rechungpa. So this is the one place in the lineage prayer is a little odd, because Rechungpa then gave this practice to Milarepa, so that Milarepa extended his life longer. So this is the one case where the disciple's name comes before the teacher's name in the chronology of the lineage.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
So that's chapter 35.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, obviously, this Barima, Tipupa's disciple, there's some significance there that is lost on me. I'm sure when this was compiled, there's something going on there. What Barima randomly kind of clarified the faults of Dharma, of the jealous Lotsawa and so forth. Like Lotsawa means translator, So these translators, there was a lot of competition, in fact. And part of like going down to India, especially 2 generations back during Marpa's time, is who can get there first to get the goods, to secure the rights. And I'm not kidding, it's securing the rights. So for example, in a parallel lineage, the Sakyapa lineage. So the Sakyapa lineage, that it's a particular aristocratic family, the Kun family. So the Kun family were particularly invested their wealth in training their young sons of that lineage with the intention of sending them down to India to procure these lineages of practice that is not available in Tibet yet. Because there's great interest in Tibet and people would pay good money. So part of that lineage's story is as these, I don't know which of the sons was like on their way down to India, before they even got to Nepal, they met one of these siddhas. Not siddha, actually they met a Tibetan who had received this lineage of Hevajra from an Indian Mahasiddha. So then this person, this Tibetan, who is not part of that Sakya family, basically struck a deal with the Sakya Kun family, which is the Sakya. He said to them, "I have this Hevajra, and Hevajra is the most treasured, sophisticated tantric system currently in Nepal and India. Do you want it?" So the Sakya son said, "Yes." In part, it's like, well, we don't have to go all the way there now, you know. So, but then he said, "Okay, I'll give it to you, but it will cost this much, this much." Then, in response, the Sakya family, the son said, "Okay, you want this much, but we have exclusive rights. You cannot give it to anybody else." So probably, you know, the person said, you know, the teacher said, "Well, for that, you know, we have to renegotiate the price." And that was what happened. So then they had exclusive rights. So it's all pretty out in the open. They don't even hide it. So it's like, yeah, of course it costs money.
It's the family business, right?
Sorry?
It's the family business, basically.
Yeah, it was a family business. Yeah, the fortunes of the family is tied to the. You know, now they were trading quite literally, you know. And so for someone like Milarepa who had nothing, you know. So I if you ask me, I would say it's probably because Milarepa did not have this amount of wealth that was needed. So he did not get everything from Marpa. The one who got everything from Marpa was basically another aristocratic family, the Ngo family. And they became the main successors of Marpa in terms of Marpa's, all the things that Marpa brought back from India, they receive everything. So like the franchise, you know, went to them. And it said that family lasted for 7 generations as like the holder of Marpa's transmissions. And then the biological family died out. But the Dharma transmission continued from there because Gampopa's grand disciples, recognizing a connection, right, with the Ngo transmission, came from their great grandmaster. Then Gampopa's, you know, Kagyupa descendants made great efforts to kind of introduce those transmission into the Kagyu. And so
Milarepa didn't get shorted because Marpa obviously saw the potential for Milarepa just to go up into the mountains and
yes.
he didn't need that for himself.
Yeah, he didn't need that for himself. So then they say Marpa. From Marpa, there are two transmissions, so-called gyun. Gyun is like a river flowing, the two flows. So they call there's the Shegyun and there is the Drupgyun. Shegyun and Drupgyun. She is knowledge. So the knowledge stream went to Ngo, Lama Ngo, and the practical kind of like practice flow went to Milarepa. So Milarepa did not have all the knowledge, did not have all the information, but he got the essence.
Which is probably most important, in my opinion. Because you get all these scholars who know this, but they don't have the essence. I think the essence is the most important.
When they talk about Ngo and Milarepa, the understanding is that Ngo also had realization. Yeah. So it's not just book learning by any means. Yeah, but it's like Ngo had the capacity, the intellectual capacity to be greatly learned as well.
That's good too, yeah.
That Milarepa, had only one side. In a way, it's yes, of course, but they say for the purposes of but this is an ongoing tension, not just in Tibet. Way back in the Buddha's time, how much of learning is enough, how much of experience is necessary. That's always, this is always being negotiated, so to say. Not even like two groups of people in the same individual,
Yeah, that's true.
How much do you need to know? And the knowing part is about being able to then guide others. Yeah. So the more facility you have, then in theory, the better off you are in terms of guiding others.
That's true.
Yeah. So ideally, if you could live 1,000 years without being distracted, and then it would be to start off as Milarepa, gain all the realizations, then have another few hundred years to be like Ngo, then to learn all the things you need to learn in order to guide others, then you'll be perfect. So this took a few generations, for Milarepa's spiritual descendants to then reconnect to the learning branch of the great grandmasters. So idea is that the great grandmaster Marpa had both fully, perfectly. But in the next generation, specialization went in two directions. Then 7-8 generations later, it came back when this was joined back up together.
Interesting.
Yeah, so.
Ask for the sake of my notes. Shegyu and what was the other
Drupgyun.
one? Drupgyun.
Yeah, like Drupchen, accumulation, attainments.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So these are the two streams. Okay, so are we good today?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so time to run. I had a class this morning that started at 8. This only happens once a month, third Sunday. So finish that class and then a little break in between, and then with you guys, and then then done with classes for today.
It's always good to see you. Thanks for
you.
So
Thank you.
I think I mentioned to Melissa, and Melissa probably talked to Cheryl already, but just want to put it out there that whenever you all think, people are ready for in-person gathering, I have like canceled tickets credit specifically to go to Little Rock
Okay.
that I can use. And I said, if EBS is not willing is not ready as an institution to have things, then you all can think about the Sunday Vajrayana Tibetan Buddhist group, maybe meeting as a much smaller group. We could also do something like that. Either way, but I also don't need for this to happen. Just saying that if there is, desire for it to happen, then know that, yeah, yeah. So y'all can.
Is there an expiration date on your tickets?
Oh, I don't know, end of this year or something like that. Yeah.
There will be a time we're hoping that we can reopen completely in the fall, perhaps. And it would be so great to do that with the presence of a teacher. You
Right.
come back and kind of bless the space for us or
Uh-huh.
something. Do a soul offering or
Right.
whatever, to get it reopened.
Right.
That would
Right.
be great. It's just so hard to predict right now. And,
Right.
we're like leading the nation in the rise in cases.
Yeah. 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 I think like I don't know. I get that part, but I think even like when you do reopen, you probably don't want to do a big reopening. Like kind of like ease into reopening. So we have reopened, and we then based on honor system, we say don't come unless you're vaccinated. We're not like having anyone check, your vaccination papers at the door. Just counting on people, respecting that. We've not heard any complaints, not that there aren't, probably there are. We just haven't not heard them. So I also imagine if we do a smaller group gathering, then I will have to say, for me to come, I will say, please, if you're not vaccinated, we'll Zoom it to you. Just don't come, Yeah.
Yeah, we're actually doing that at EBS. Our practice groups, some of them are meeting in person and also on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't opened it to the general public, to people
Right.
who do not know what they've been up to.
Right. Yeah. So Urban Dharma, we have
If this group wants to meet with you, we could do it.
Right. So Urban Dharma, we have reopened in that way also. Like, so we used to have like, every day a few hours open, anyone can come in and out. That we have not. Only for the scheduled meetings that we have reopened. Yeah. Yeah. So you can think about, I think even just a smaller group and, what we used to do to pick a topic, because beyond COVID and not, right, we started to do that also because I felt that, on the one level, you want activity for EBS that cuts across, the limited focus that we have on Sunday. But at the same time, if I keep doing that, then, the core will never grow in yours own, depth. If it's very general. So, yeah.
We're also in the middle. We have made an offer to the landlord to buy the building.
Ah, good.
We're in the middle of negotiating with him.
Yeah, nice.
That's huge.
Oh, yeah. Right. Excellent. Yeah. We are looking for alternative spaces. Yeah, I don't think we will ever be able to buy anything, but Asheville is getting crazier and crazier. But we are looking for a different space. Downtown is no longer relevant to what we do. It's become such a tourist town. So then even if we attract people, we're attracting tourists. And what's the point?
Yeah, really.
So, Unless they're tourists from EBS, then that's different.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll see you all.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Take
Bye.
care.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.